Alright everyone, now it's time to talk about the Elon Musk Twitter debacle. Of course, it's not going to be long from now before that case goes hot. Right now, Elon Musk and Twitter are subpoenaing everyone and their mother. I don't know exactly what the count is for the number of people that have been called on for potential testimony. I think it's in the many hundreds, so this case could drag on for quite some time, which puts Twitter into a nebulous gray area in which they are the ones that are suffering. Elon Musk is sitting there chuckling because it doesn't really impact him other than having to do court filings and shit. I'm sure that his lawyers are competent to handle 99% of that work. Twitter, I think, in their case is screwed. And that's because we have a whistleblower. I did report on this a few days ago, but the number of contradictions of what Twitter has given in their official filings, a la Elon Musk's takeover, as well as filings with the U.S. government, security concerns on Twitter, cybersecurity, where they gave assurances to the government that appear not to have been followed through with, is damning. That separate case alone could torpedo them. You don't just have Elon Musk saying, I want to back out of acquiring you, and thus crippling their share price in the process. This particular whistleblower, the former security head at Twitter, Peter Zatko, he's saying, no, when Twitter told the government, don't worry, we're doing a good job with spam, that is a lie, according to him. And again, this is a former higher-up within Twitter's echelons. He's saying, no, actually, the people who were working as executives, they were given bonuses for having higher users on the site. They could make bank doing that. So they didn't prioritize spam deletion because when you delete the bot, you lose a user. It's not a real user, but it's another redacted individual, so-called, on the site. So if you want the user growth, you're going to ignore some of that spammy behavior. Maybe you're not quite sure it's spammy. You don't query them for their ID or anything. You just say, well, I think that this account is okay. And so multiple individuals, in order to make money, this is the way that corporations work, this is also why nations fall, ignored the problem because it was not lucrative to tackle the problem and it was lucrative to ignore the problem. It's as simple as that. So that's a separate case. There were 5 or 6 different points that he made. The big one, however, was with regards to spam, because it ties in exactly with what Musk is saying, which is you lied, Twitter, to me in your filings. I'm not the one that's hazarding or violating the deal. You preemptively violated it by submitting false information. Twitter can go before the judge and plausibly claim, based on analytics from third parties, including Bot Sentinel and groups like that. Yes, I understand Bot Sentinel is partisan in nature, but he can use this in a court, potentially, unless Twitter intends to defend Amber Heard, I suppose. Johnny Depp, which would be a separate debacle that would boggle the mind and be hilarious, and I really hope that happens. Multiple sites that monitor for botting agree with Musk that it's much more than 5% of users on site that aren't really real. So empty accounts, bots, spammy things. That's number one, those sites. Secondly, you have the whistleblower. You have the former head of Twitter security, access to literally everything. He can go through it with a fine-tooth comb for the multiple years he was there, then gets sacked. I wonder why Twitter wanted him out. It's almost like that wasn't coincidentally timed any more than Jack Dorsey deciding to leave. Interesting, Dorsey leaves, the stock price crumbles, you have the botting deal, you have the cybersecurity filings, you have their head of security leaving, and then Elon Musk tries to acquire the company, they hold out, and then he sues them anyway. Now they're trying to sue him to force him to obtain Twitter. Well, he probably, what I've predicted all along, will still happen. I still expect that Elon Musk will obtain Twitter. I expect that his argument before the judge will not be, I want to cancel this deal and not acquire Twitter. His thing will be, I want to cancel this deal and have a new deal where I'm paying something that's more appropriate because more of the individuals that are on site aren't even real people. I shouldn't have to pay, what was it, $44 a share or something. Huge amount of money. It was, $44 billion in total or something like that. Some astronomical number. I shouldn't have to pay that. I'm just shaving a bit off the top. I only want to pay $35 billion. I think Twitter is worth less than they represented themselves as being worth, and I was overpaying them to begin with. I'll give them the full amount that I would have given them if I wasn't being gregarious that day, and it'll still be much more than the total value because Twitter's stock price has plummeted. And by the way, second you got this whistleblower, their stock price tumbled. How many of the big dogs in the game have just dumped Twitter stock and decided to take the L in order to not take a bigger L? I think some of them are worried that Twitter is going to go to zero. I think that some of these people are genuinely going to get worried that despite the fact that Twitter is a large, active platform, it's simply too dysfunctional to be considered stable as an investment. And this is what Elon Musk, in my opinion, wants. He wants the investors and the shareholders to get nervous and start dumping, causing a chain reaction in order to drop the price, because then there's another plausible thing he can take before the judge. Judge, when I signed on to this deal, I was paying 20-30% more than the stock was already worth, okay? And that's back when it was much higher. Now, in order to obtain a company that openly lied to me in legal filings, which has lied to the U.S. government on multiple occasions, I'm supposed to pay now 200-300% of what the site is actually worth? I don't think so. They lied to me. I want out of the deal. Twitter, in the end, will suck his dick backwards and beg him to still acquire the site. They will probably enter into a private agreement. And what happens in these cases, and most people, they don't know anything about this. In both criminal and civil cases, mostly you get a settlement. It's a plea deal for a criminal case, an out-of-court settlement for a civil case. You get, all eyes are on the handful of cases that don't end that way. Like, let's say, I use the example. You ran over somebody with your car. And semi on purpose, third-degree murder. Well, that's quite a significant charge. But the prosecutor says, well, we found one piece of exculpatory evidence. We don't really want to drag you through court for months. You're going to get found guilty. So we're going to bump that down to negligent homicide or something like that. You will serve considerably less time. We'll ask the judge to be lenient, maybe even a suspended sentence. Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, you killed someone, but we'll try to get you we're going to get you a plea agreement. Maybe it's just reckless driving and DUI or something. Hey, we suspend your license for the next 6 months for killing someone. Stranger things have happened within the legal system. This differential treatment usually is for first-time offenders, number one, or people that are well-connected and well-liked, number two, and they don't want public outcry because they want people to work with the cops. It really is that. Part of it is fucking political, and it always has been and always will be, by the way, insofar as you have a state function with the judiciary. In civil cases, oftentimes what happens is people reach an agreement without going before the judge at all. Then they go before the judge and say, hey, we hammered out our differences, we were cross-examining, and we came to mutual terms, and so these are the terms. What I expect, therefore, with or without the judge being directly involved at that later stage, is that Musk will still acquire Twitter, but he's not paying $44 billion for it. He pays $30 billion. 20 billion, something like that. This immediately devalues the company that he owns, but he's paid so much less into it that he's not going to give a shit. And then he will own one of the big social media platforms. Twitter is a big player within legacy tech, and he'll be very happy. Twitter had abused him before. Now he'll own them. They will be his slaves, and he'll laugh all the way to the bank. And he'll, by the way, if he goes through with his planned reforms of the site, it'll probably pick up pace and make more money. I'm not so sure that paying for verified status is a great idea. I mean, all of the liberals, I guess, will do that. I'm not going to pay for a blue check mark any more than I'm going to submit bullshit to try to get it now. I'd probably be rejected because I have the wrong political beliefs anyway, because Twitter has made it explicitly clear that verification is no longer a verification. It's an endorsement. Very, very strange site when you really think about it. If Elon Musk, in the end, doesn't acquire Twitter, they will goddamn crumble. Twitter will be ripped apart. It might still exist, but it'll be like Yahoo, like a zombie company. That just means people go and use Gab and Parler and shit like that. Well, then people like me who are content creators win. Or if Elon Musk takes over the site, his planned TOS revisions mean a lot less pressure on people like me to constantly self-censor ourselves. Twitter becomes even more of a fun dumpster fire on that end. Well, that's great. We win again. We can't lose. I'm McLovin' it with regards to this shit. That's about all. Peace out.